Hi, I'm Peter Green. Welcome to petergreenguitar.com. If you like this video, please subscribe and click the like button, and also feel free to visit the link in the description to my website where you'll find more information on live lessons and new upcoming video courses. Also check the links in the description for chord diagrams for this lesson and also the chord progressions for this lesson. So let's talk about beginner chords. And when I say beginner, I mean absolute beginner. You've maybe had a lesson or so and you're brand new to this whole thing and you need to learn a few chords. So what are chords? Chords are playing more than one note at a time. Normally for major and minor chords, it's going to be 3 notes. So these 3 notes here form a G chord. You can have 2-note chords as well. I could just play these 2. And then there can be up to 6-string chords or 6-note chords. One of the things that I see as a problem for some beginners is when they are taught chords, they're taught chords that are really much too sophisticated or complicated for them. You know, anybody that's been playing for a while can play a G chord or full C chord or an E chord, and some people can play bar chords like an F chord. But for the most part, a beginner trying to play those full chords is just going to be overwhelmed. So what you want to do as a beginner is you want to learn very simple chords. So we're going to start off with a nice easy one, and I'm going to go through the list here. If you look at the chord diagrams list, the first chord you will see is a G chord. Now, there are again 3 notes we're going to play. We're going to put the 3rd finger on the 1st string, 3rd fret. Then we're going to play the 2nd and 3rd strings open, and we'll strum down like that all at once. Now, if you prefer to play with your fingers, you can do that. You can do that. Or you could use your thumb. But for most students, I recommend using a pick. It's usually the best way to start. So you just want to strum in a downward motion and hit only those 2 strings. Now, you don't want to hit these lower strings. They're not going to all work with the chord and it's not going to sound right. So just the top 3. And by the way, people get confused about this. These are the top 3. So the top string is this string. It's called the high E string. People look at the guitar and when they see the strings, they think this is the top string because physically it's on top, but that's a low string. This is a high string. So these are the top strings. Okay, so that's going to be your G chord. So just practice that a few times. Try to play it in a nice, smooth rhythm. The second chord we're going to do is the 1st finger on the 1st string, 1st fret. And by the way, when you put your fingers down, try to get them close to the upper fret. So in other words, if I'm playing at the 1st fret, there's the upper fret. All right? And that's what you want to do. You don't want to have the finger back here. You're going to get a buzzy sound. So keep the finger here. Also for now, let's keep the thumb in back of the neck here. Right in back of the neck. Okay. That's your G7 chord. All right, now here's another one that only uses the 1st finger. Take that 1st finger, but move it over to the 2nd string, 1st fret, and just play these. So here you have the 3rd string open. In other words, no finger is down. 1st fret on the 2nd string, open on the 1st string. Okay. The next chord we're going to learn is going to be the easiest of them all. Now we have things called major and minor chords. A minor chord has a darker kind of a sound than a major chord. Don't worry so much about that now. Let's just play it. This is an E minor chord. We're going to play the top 3 strings open. That's it. It couldn't be easier than that. Okay. And we're going to do one more chord, and this is going to be the most challenging. This is a D7. So far, all the chords we played have only one finger down. D7 is the first finger on the 2nd string. The 2nd finger goes to the 3rd string, 2nd fret. And the ring finger, the 3rd finger, goes to the 1st string, 2nd fret. Now, one of the things you'll find when you start doing some of these chords is you're not going to get all the notes clear. And there's 2 reasons for that. One can be that you're not pressing enough to get the note clear, but a more common reason is that your fingers are leaning over. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So let's take a look at this here. You're going to see these fingers where the notes are clear. Now, if I lean my fingers like this, it blocks the strings out. So I have to arch my fingers up out of the way so I get each note clear, okay? And this takes practice. Even on the C chord, look at the C chord. If this first finger here leans over even a little bit into the 1st string, it's going to block it out. So you have to arch it up and get it out of the way. And don't get frustrated, because many students, when they start, they can't get some of these chords clear for a while. It takes some practice, some thought. And I have students that say, well, it's impossible. There's just not enough room to fit your fingers in there. Well, I assure you that there is. And think of someone who plays ukulele or mandolin. They're smaller. I mean, the necks are even smaller on those, and they can fit their fingers in. Or even violin. All right, so you can definitely do it. It's just practicing it. So here are the chords. Here are the 5 chords. Up close, G. And I'm only playing the top 3 strings. G7, C, E minor, and D7. Okay. So now we're going to play chord progressions. What is a chord progression? It's just a series of chords. So all songs consist of chord progressions. Usually what happens in pop or rock or country music is you have a singer singing the melody of the song and the guitar player is strumming chords or riffs or some variation of that in the background. So chords are essential to being able to play songs, especially for a beginning guitar player. So a chord progression, again, is just going from one chord to another to another. So if you look at the chord progression sheet, the first thing you're going to see is a G to an E minor. So what we're going to do here is we're going to play the G chord 4 times. Those diagonal slashes are what we call quarter notes in music. And just think of that as being 1 beat each. If you were to count in this time signature, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each time you see one of those slashes is going to be a beat, and you're going to play a downstroke. So let me play example 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the G, E minor. 2, 3, 4. Repeat it. G, 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now don't be afraid also to go as slow as you need to go. If you can't play them that quick, don't do it. Slow it way down. 1, 2, 3. Whatever speed you need to do to play it smoothly and comfortably. All right? The second progression, number 2, G to G7. We're going to play this G chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. The G7, we go to the first finger on the first string, 3, 4. Back to the G, 2, 3, 4, G7. 2, 3, 4. And again, just keep repeating these. Don't just play them once or twice. Go over them for a couple of minutes. Alrighty? Next progression, C to G7. If you remember, the C had the first finger on the second string. So to go to the G7, you're just going to move that first finger over to the first string. 1, 2, that's the C. 3, 4, G7. 2, 3, 4, and back and forth. C, 2, 3, 4, G7. Now let's try C to G. Here we go. This is progression number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, G. Third finger. Lift up the first finger. 3, 4, C, C, G. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now let's see if we can put all of those chords, with the exception of the E minor, we're going to put all those chords together. We're going to do G to G7 to C. G, this is a progression, what are we up to? Number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, G7, 2, 3, 4, and then C. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's do another 4 on C. 2, 3, 4, and then repeat that. Now we're going to throw in that D7. And again, this is the most challenging, but just remember, when something's a little more challenging, you just need to work on it a little harder. That's all it is. You'll get it. Just keep a positive attitude. Okay, let me do this. G to D7. 1, 2, 3, 4. D7. 3, 4. G. 7, 2, 3, 4. Now let me show you something that I'm doing here, and I'm going to zoom in on this one. So what I'm doing here is I am playing a G, and I'm not going to lift my third finger. I'm just going to slide it down to the second fret, then put my first and second fingers down. So going from G to D7, I do not have to lift that third finger up. And this is one of the key principles in eventually getting smooth chord changes. Whenever you can leave a finger down or slide it, do that. So D7 would be that. Slide back up to go to the G. After the D7, don't lift up and come back down, slide it. And I'll show you something in the next progressions. Okay, this is C to D7. C, first finger here. D7. Now, could you see what I was doing there? I had the C. I didn't lift the first finger up. I just put the second and third fingers down. Back to the C, just lift those two fingers up, keep the first finger down, so when we do G to D7, we just slide the third finger down a fret. When we do C to D7, we keep the first finger down. Very important. Okay, now let's hit you with one more. This is going to be G to E minor to C to D. Okay, now this chord progression, you'll hear, it's a very, very common classic chord progression. You'll hear it in many 50s songs, doo-wop songs. I always called it the 50s progression. So there were literally thousands of songs, from Earth Angel to In the Still of the Night to Daddy's Home to Teenager in Love to Runaround Sue, to the list goes on and on and on and on. They were all the same chord progression. Okay, if there was any change in them, sometimes there'd just be one little chord they change, or they'd have a different bridge, we call it. I'll get into what a bridge is later. It's just a different part. And an interesting thing on the business end of music, you cannot copyright a chord progression. You can copyright a lyric, a melody, if there's a certain riff. You know, if you want to go, you can copyright that, but you can't copyright a chord progression. Very interesting, isn't it? So if you could, there'd be only one doo-wop song that had that chord progression. But luckily, anybody can play that chord progression. And if you hear songs like Perfect by Ed Sheeran, that's a newer song that came out, same chord progression. You hear it over and over and over again. So here's the chord progression. It's G, E minor, okay. That's the easy one. Then C with the first finger down, second string. Then leave that finger down and put the second and third fingers down to make the D7. Now, if any of you know a D chord, you could actually substitute a D for the D7 as well, but we haven't learned that yet. So, let me do one more close-up here, and here we go. G, E minor, C, D7. If you wanted to end the song, end on a G chord. Okay? So, again, typical chord progression. You've actually learned thousands of songs. You don't realize it yet, but you have. You've learned thousands of songs. Now, songs can be in different keys, and we'll discuss down the road what that means. So, in other words, the same chord progression could be played higher or lower, but basically the relationship of the chords is the same. Okay? So, there you go. There's your first 5 chords on the guitar, and I want you to just practice those progressions. And if you want to get creative with them, you by all means do that. You know, I gave you a very simple strum, but you could try strumming some upstrokes in there. You could try holding the chords longer, or strumming faster or slower. You could change the order of the chords and say, let me go to a C to an E minor and see what happens there. So you can get very creative with these, but with these 4 chords, there's a lot of things you can actually play. All right? So there you go. If you guys have any questions or any topics you want me to cover for you beginning guitar players, let me know in the comments, and I will take care of it. All right. Thanks very much, and have a good day.